Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. This time we're going deep on something I think we all struggle with from time to time, um, anxiety and really how to manage it, how to eliminate it.
Yeah.
And we've got some pretty interesting material for this one, a source that really kind of lays out a 5-step plan for actually getting to the root of anxiety.
Mm,
Not just coping with it, but actually maybe getting rid of it.
I like that.
So the 5 steps that it kind of broadly outlines are changing habits, reconnecting with nature learning, to let go,
Okay.
reinventing your lifestyle, and
Right.
then finally becoming emotionally aware.
Mm.
And I know those sound kind of broad, but trust me, the source gets into some surprisingly practical tactics and things for each one.
Yeah, I'm curious about that because, I think a lot of times when we talk about anxiety, it's either medication or therapy. And
Yeah.
this sounds like it's kind of a different approach.
It's a very holistic approach. This
Yeah.
source is really looking at your habits, your surroundings, even how you connect with your own emotions.
Interesting.
So let's dive into that first step, changing habits.
Right.
And, this may not come as a surprise to you, but sleep is at the very top of the list.
Right.
The source really emphasizes how crucial a good night's rest is for regulating mood.
Mm-hmm.
And it even talks about REM sleep,
Yeah.
the really deep dream stage of sleep,
Yeah.
and how that's linked to how our brains actually process emotions.
It's fascinating because, I think of REM sleep almost as like a computer running a defrag program.
Okay.
It's really sifting through all those emotional experiences from the day,
Right.
filing them away, helping us make sense of things. And so if we're not getting enough of that, we're kind of left with this backlog,
Right.
almost like emotional clutter.
Yeah, so it's like that feeling of everything being too much. When you're sleep deprived, it's almost like your brain hasn't had a chance to tidy up the emotional mess.
Exactly. And another thing to consider too is when we don't get enough sleep, it throws off the balance of certain neurotransmitters in our brains.
Mm-hmm.
Things like serotonin and dopamine, which
Yeah.
we know are really important for mood regulation.
Right.
Low serotonin is linked to anxiety and depression.
Mm.
Dopamine is tied to motivation and reward. So when we're sleep deprived, we're really setting ourselves up for an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. The source also talks about journaling as a way to understand your anxiety.
Okay.
Not just venting, but really kind of doing some detective work,
Okay.
looking for patterns,
Yeah.
figuring out what your personal triggers might be.
So like an investigator of your own anxiety.
Yeah, exactly. The source even suggests, looking for things like specific situations or people,
Right.
even thoughts that consistently seem to precede those anxious feelings.
Hmm.
And this isn't about finding a quick fix. It's more about understanding what's really going on beneath the surface.
Right.
Yeah, if you can identify those triggers, then maybe you can start to manage them better.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power, right?
Mm.
The more we understand about our own unique patterns of anxiety, the more equipped we are to kind of deal with them.
Yeah. This is interesting that the source also suggests that building relaxation into your routine is a really powerful tool for managing anxiety.
Okay.
Things like deep breathing exercises or even simple stretches.
What I think is interesting about that is, when we're anxious, we experience this physiological response.
Right.
Our heart rate increases, our muscles tense up. You might even start to hyperventilate.
Right.
So these relaxation techniques are really about kind of hitting the reset button.
Right.
Deep breaths help bring in more oxygen to the body, which calms the nervous system.
Mm.
Stretching helps to release that muscle tension. So it's about interrupting that anxiety spiral before it takes hold.
So you're giving your body and mind a much needed break.
Exactly. Even something as simple as, taking 5 minutes to focus on your breath can make a world of difference.
Wow. All right, moving on to step 2. And this is where things get a little unexpected.
Okay.
Reconnecting with nature.
Yeah.
The source actually encourages getting hands-on with gardening,
Oh.
even for those of us, stuck in the concrete jungle.
Interesting.
I mean, I love being out in nature, but I've never really thought about gardening.
There's a reason why people find gardening to be so therapeutic. It's
Oh.
not just about being outdoors, it's about actively engaging with nature.
Okay.
Tending to plants, feeling the soil in your hands, observing the cycles of growth and decay. I mean, it's incredibly grounding,
Right.
and it can be such a great way to de-stress.
So it's not just about passively appreciating nature. It's about actually interacting with it.
Exactly. And there's a growing body of research now that shows, this profound impact that nature has on our mental and physical well-being.
Hmm.
Studies have found that even short walks in nature can lower blood pressure,
Wow.
reduce stress hormones like cortisol, and improve mood.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I always feel more relaxed after spending time outdoors.
And the source even talks about the benefits of bringing nature indoors. Having plants in your home, for example, can improve air quality and create a more calming environment.
Yeah, it's amazing how something as simple as opening a window and letting in some fresh air can just totally shift your mood.
It's all about creating a sanctuary,
Yeah,
a space where you can decompress and reconnect with yourself.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to step 3, learning to let go.
Okay.
This one feels a bit more philosophical, but the source approaches it in a very practical way,
Okay.
almost like decluttering your home.
Hmm.
It's about getting rid of the things that no longer serve you, but in this case, it's letting go of what you can't control.
So often we hold on to things, worries, regrets, grudges, all this stuff that weighs us down emotionally.
Yeah,
This step is really about recognizing that sometimes the most empowering thing we can do is simply let go.
so it's not about giving up.
Right.
It's about choosing to focus your energy where it matters.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we can't control everything,
Right.
but we can control how we respond to situations. Letting go of the need to control things that are outside of our sphere of influence can free up so much mental and emotional energy.
Yeah, it's like that saying,
Right.
grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change,
Right.
the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
That's a perfect way to put it. It's about recognizing our limitations, but also recognizing our own power to choose how we navigate the world.
Okay, on to step 4, reinventing your lifestyle. This one sounds a bit overwhelming,
Yeah.
but the source really breaks it down into manageable pieces.
Okay.
It's not about making these radical changes overnight.
Right.
It's about taking a critical look at your current lifestyle
Okay.
and identifying areas where you might be able to make healthier choices.
And what kind of choices are we talking about here?
Well, the source mentions nutrition a lot,
Ah.
for
Okay.
good reason.
Right.
There's such a
Right.
strong connection between what we eat and how we feel.
Mhm.
The source specifically talks about the impact of processed foods, sugar, caffeine on anxiety. All of those things can create fluctuations in our blood sugar,
Yeah.
our energy levels,
Makes sense.
which can then trigger or worsen anxiety symptoms.
So it's not just what we're putting into our bodies, but how those things are actually affecting our brain chemistry.
Exactly. The source highlights the importance of nourishing our bodies with whole, unprocessed foods that provide sustained energy and really support balanced mood.
That makes a lot of sense.
Now, the source also acknowledges that food can be a source of pleasure and comfort,
Of course.
and that, enjoying a treat now and then is perfectly fine.
Absolutely.
It's not about deprivation. It's about balance.
It's about finding a sustainable way of eating that supports both your physical and your mental well-being.
All right, on to that final step.
Mm-hmm.
And this one might sound a little more abstract, but it really resonated with me.
Okay.
Becoming emotionally aware.
Mm.
It's about not running away from your emotions, but learning to fully experience them as a way to release their hold on you.
Yeah, I mean, we live in a culture that often encourages us to suppress or avoid unpleasant emotions.
Right.
But the source is saying that this can actually make things worse in the long run.
Right.
Bottling up those feelings can lead to increased anxiety, stress, even physical health problems.
So it's not about pretending like everything's okay.
Okay.
It's about acknowledging what you're feeling.
Exactly. This step is about learning to become an observer of your own emotional landscape. What are you feeling? Where do you feel it in your body?
Yeah.
What are the thoughts and sensations that accompany this emotion?
It's almost like becoming a scientist of your own emotions.
I like that analogy. And the source suggests that simply recognizing and naming our emotions can be incredibly powerful. It allows us to start to understand them, process them, and ultimately release them.
So instead of just saying, I'm so stressed,
Right.
it's about taking a step back and saying, okay, I'm noticing a tightness in my chest. My thoughts are racing. I'm feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah.
This is anxiety.
Exactly. It's about creating a space between the emotion and your reaction to it. That space allows for choice.
Right.
Do you want to let this emotion consume you, or do you want to acknowledge it and let it pass?
That's a really powerful concept. It's about taking back control of your emotional experience.
Absolutely. And it's a skill that takes practice, but the source offers some simple yet effective techniques to help cultivate emotional awareness.
Okay.
Things like mindfulness, meditation, journaling.
Wow. I mean, we've covered so much ground already.
I know.
In just these first 4 steps.
Right.
It's pretty inspiring to see how these seemingly simple changes can have such a profound impact on our mental well-being.
It's about taking that holistic approach, recognizing that our thoughts, feelings, behaviors, and our environment are all interconnected. By addressing all of these areas, we can really create a more balanced and fulfilling life.
I love that.
Welcome back to our deep dive. You know, we left off talking about the power of becoming emotionally aware.
Yeah, a key part of, this whole journey of mastering anxiety.
Absolutely.
And, it's really about recognizing those moments when we're tempted to either avoid or resist or even overreact to our emotions.
Right.
Instead of actually facing them head on, which is tough.
Yeah.
But the source really gives some good tactics for doing that.
And remember, they offered that simple but powerful meditation exercise to really help cultivate that awareness.
Yeah.
It's about tuning into your physical sensations when you feel that wave of emotion.
Right.
Where is it in your body? What does it actually feel like physically?
Yeah. Instead of just saying, I'm so frustrated,
Right.
Actually stop and think, okay, my jaw is clenched. My stomach feels tight.
Yeah.
I feel heat in my face.
Yeah.
What is the message here? It's almost like your body's giving you clues.
It is, yeah. It's about becoming a curious observer, not just getting swept away by the emotion itself.
Right. And that ties into something we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
That link between anxiety and weight gain. It's like a double whammy, right? You're dealing with the anxiety itself,
right?
And then you've got the physical effects that it can have on your body.
Absolutely. I mean, stress and anxiety lead to elevated cortisol levels.
Right.
And we know that cortisol can really ramp up fat storage, especially around the belly.
Which is so frustrating because it feels like your own body is working against you.
It does.
You're trying to manage the anxiety.
Yeah.
And then you have this added pressure of weight gain on top of it.
Yeah, it's definitely a double whammy, and the source, acknowledges that. But remember, they offered some really practical tips to help break that cycle.
Right.
Increasing your exercise was one of them.
Oh, yeah. I love that. Because it's not just about the physical benefits.
Right.
Exercise is such a powerful mood booster. It burns off that nervous energy, gets those endorphins flowing.
Plus, when you exercise regularly, your body actually gets better at regulating those cortisol levels.
Oh, wow.
Which can help break that stress-fat storage connection.
So it's like a positive feedback loop. The more you move, the better your body manages stress, which then helps with the anxiety, and it all starts to work together.
Exactly. And let's not forget about the power of establishing meal rituals.
Oh, yeah.
This is something the source really emphasized, creating that structure and mindfulness around eating.
That makes sense. Instead of, stress eating or mindlessly snacking throughout the day,
right,
you're actually sitting down to a meal.
Yeah.
Taking the time to appreciate your food and being present in that moment.
That's the key. It helps you tune into your body's natural hunger and fullness cues, which can prevent overeating, and plus, it just makes the whole experience of eating more enjoyable.
Right. And of course, we can't talk about managing anxiety without mentioning sleep.
Right.
It keeps coming up again and again in this source.
And with good reason. When we don't get enough sleep, it's like our bodies go into this state of high alert. Right. Our stress hormones go into overdrive, making us more susceptible to anxiety, even depression.
So it all comes back to those foundational habits.
Right.
Exercise, nutrition, sleep. They're not just good for our physical health, but they're essential for managing those anxiety levels too.
It's that holistic approach. Again, acknowledging that our mental and physical well-being are deeply interconnected.
Yeah.
You can't really address one without the other.
Okay, so now for that final step.
Okay.
And it's the one that this source calls reinventing your lifestyle.
It might sound daunting, but it's really about building on what we've already talked about.
Okay.
Taking a step back to assess those bigger picture elements of your life.
So not just small tweaks, but maybe some bigger shifts in how you're approaching things.
Exactly. The source encourages you to think about how your lifestyle choices are either supporting or sabotaging your mental health. It's about making those choices with intention and awareness.
This is making me think about something else the source brought up.
Yeah.
The importance of having a healthy diet. Not just for your physical health,
right,
but for your mental well-being too.
Absolutely. We know that certain nutrients play a vital role in supporting our mood and how our brains function.
Right.
Think magnesium, tryptophan, B vitamins, those omega-3 fatty acids, even vitamin C.
Wow.
They're all crucial players.
It's fascinating to think that what you eat can have such a direct impact on your anxiety levels.
It's all about providing your body and brain with the building blocks they need to function at their best.
Yeah, so it's not just about cutting out processed foods and sugary drinks,
right,
but actively seeking out the foods that are rich in those mood-boosting nutrients.
Think about vibrant, colorful meals.
Okay.
Leafy greens, nuts and seeds, fatty fish,
Mm?
whole grains, colorful fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
It's not just about what you're not eating. It's about all the amazing things you can eat.
Okay, I'm definitely getting hungry thinking about this.
Yeah.
Now, I know we've spent a good amount of time on nutrition, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts on other areas of this lifestyle reinvention.
Oh,
What else could someone consider?
that's a great question. Aside from nutrition, I think it's crucial to examine your relationships,
Okay.
your work-life balance, how you manage stress, even your sense of purpose in life.
Wow, that's quite a list.
It is.
Let's break it down a bit. Starting with relationships.
Okay.
How can they influence our anxiety levels?
Well, think about it. Our relationships can be either a source of incredible support and connection,
Yeah.
or they can be a major source of stress and conflict.
Right.
If you're surrounded by people who are constantly negative, critical, or just drain your energy,
Yeah.
it's going to take a toll on your emotional well-being.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like that saying, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Exactly. So it's about being mindful of the company you keep.
Right.
Surround yourself with people who lift you up, inspire you, and make you feel good about yourself.
Okay. And what about work-life balance?
Yeah,
It feels like everybody's struggling with that these days.
they are.
How can we find that sweet spot between our professional and personal lives?
It's all about setting boundaries and making your well-being a priority. It's so easy to get caught up in the hustle and bustle of work,
Right.
but it's crucial to carve out time for things that bring you joy,
Mm-hmm.
help you de-stress, and recharge those batteries.
So things like spending time with loved ones, pursuing hobbies,
Yeah,
getting out in nature, maybe even just some quiet time for yourself
right.
to relax and do absolutely nothing.
Exactly. It's about identifying those activities that feed your soul and make you feel truly alive.
Yeah. And you mentioned stress management techniques too.
I did.
What are some effective ways to cope with stress that go beyond what we've already talked about?
There are so many options, and it's really about finding what works for you.
Right.
Exercise, meditation, deep breathing exercises,
Yeah.
yoga, spending time in nature, listening to music, reading, taking a hot bath.
Right.
Even just connecting with a loved one can be a powerful stress reliever.
So it's about building your own personal toolkit
Yeah,
of stress-busting strategies.
exactly. And then when you feel that stress creeping in,
Right.
you can pull out the tool that feels right in that moment.
And finally, you brought up something that I think a lot of people struggle with,
Yeah.
that sense of purpose. How does that tie into our anxiety levels?
When you have a clear sense of purpose, a reason for getting out of bed each morning,
Right.
it can be incredibly grounding.
Yeah.
Gives you direction, motivation, a sense of belonging in the world.
It's like having a guiding star, something to aim for.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be this grand, life-altering thing.
Right.
It could be as simple as pursuing a hobby you're passionate about, volunteering in your community,
Right.
or just being a loving and supportive presence in the lives of the people you care about.
So reinventing your lifestyle is really about considering all these different facets of your life.
Yes.
Your health, your relationships, your work, your purpose, and figuring out how they're all working together.
It's about creating a life that's in alignment with your values, your goals,
Yeah.
and your deepest desires. And that in itself can be incredibly empowering and anxiety-reducing.
It sounds like quite a journey,
It is a journey.
but definitely a worthwhile one.
It is. And remember, it's an ongoing process, not a destination. We're constantly evolving and learning.
Right.
The key is to be patient with yourself
Yeah.
and to embrace the process.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into mastering anxiety,
We have.
from the foundational habits of sleep and nutrition
Right.
to the more complex areas of emotional awareness and lifestyle choices.
It's really exciting to see how these seemingly small changes can add up to a significant shift in how you feel.
Yeah.
It's not just about coping with anxiety. It's about taking control of your mental health and creating a life that's truly fulfilling.
I love that I'm feeling so much more optimistic now
Yeah.
about the possibility of not just managing anxiety, but actually overcoming it.
And you absolutely can. Remember, you're not alone on this journey.
Right.
There are so many resources available to help you, and we'll be sure to link to some of those in the show notes.
Wow. I don't know about you, but after exploring all 5 of those steps to mastering anxiety, I'm feeling really empowered.
Yeah.
It's like we've unlocked a whole new level of understanding, you know?
It really is amazing how much we've uncovered from those fundamental building blocks like sleep and nutrition to the more, nuanced strategies for emotional awareness and creating a life that truly supports your well-being.
Yeah, it's like we've assembled this incredible toolkit for tackling anxiety from all angles.
Right.
We've got the practical stuff,
Yes.
making sure we're getting enough sleep, eating well, moving our bodies,
Mm-hmm.
and then those deeper strategies like reconnecting with nature, letting go of what we can't control, becoming more aware of our emotions.
And what I find fascinating is how the Source emphasizes the interconnectedness of all those elements. It's not about picking and choosing, but really embracing this holistic approach that addresses all aspects of your life.
Yeah, it's like each step reinforces the others, creating this powerful synergistic effect.
Right.
It's not just about doing one thing, right? It's about creating this whole ecosystem that supports your mental health.
Absolutely.
And I love how the Source also highlights that sometimes the simplest things can have the most profound impact. Like just opening a window to let in some fresh air,
Yeah.
or taking a few minutes to be in nature.
It's a good reminder that we don't always need these elaborate solutions or complicated strategies.
Right.
Sometimes it's about returning to the basics, those fundamental things that nourish our minds and bodies.
Okay, so let's recap those 5 steps one last time, just to make sure they really sink in.
Okay.
Step 1, changing habits.
Mm-hmm.
This is about prioritizing sleep, figuring out what your personal anxiety triggers are through journaling and incorporating relaxation techniques into your daily routine.
Okay. Step 2, reconnecting with nature. This is where we get to tap into the healing power of the outdoors.
Right.
Whether it's gardening, forest, bathing, or even just opening a window and taking a few deep breaths of fresh air.
I love that step 3, learning to let go.
Okay.
This step challenges us to accept what we can't control and free ourselves from the burden of holding on to things that no longer serve us.
Step 4, reinventing your lifestyle.
Right.
This encompasses so much from nourishing our bodies with healthy foods to finding that balance between work and life, managing stress effectively, and cultivating those meaningful relationships that bring us joy and support.
And finally, step 5, becoming emotionally aware. This is where we dive deep into the fascinating world of our inner landscape, learning to recognize, understand, and process our emotions in a healthy way.
So there you have it, a comprehensive roadmap for mastering anxiety and reclaiming your inner peace.
I'm feeling so inspired by this, and I hope you are too.
Me too.
It's not about accepting anxiety as something we just have to live with,
Right.
but about realizing we have the power to change our relationship with it.
Exactly. You are not at the mercy of your anxiety. You have the tools, and now you have the knowledge to start taking back control.
This has been such a rewarding deep dive, and I can't wait to put all of these strategies into practice in my own life.
Remember, it's a journey, not a destination.
Yeah.
There will be ups and downs, but the important thing is to keep moving forward one step at a time.
And don't be afraid to experiment.
Yes.
Find what works best for you and create a personalized plan that fits your unique needs and lifestyle.
We've equipped you with the knowledge and the tools. Now it's time to take action. Embrace the journey. Be patient with yourself, and never forget that you have the power to create a life that is free from the grip of anxiety.
That's it for this deep dive into mastering anxiety.
Right.
But the conversation doesn't have to end here.
Right.
We would love to hear your thoughts, insights, and experiences.
Yeah.
What resonated most with you? What are you excited to try? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's keep this conversation going.
Until next time, stay curious, stay empowered, and keep diving deep.